Sam Mitchell, congratulations and welcome.
Yes, thank you.
And Stuart Dew, the same sentiment to you. Well done.
Thanks very much.
What's the relationship like between a captain and the guy who got it done on grand final day?
I'm a bit more thankful to him. You remember the third quarter, but I remember about 10 games to go. Got him into the leadership meetings and he just guided us smoothly through the finals campaign, and was really proud to share that moment with him. I still like watching that little couple of goals he kicked.
Do you keep an eye on Sam's endeavours?
Oh, no, I've always kept an eye on Mitch. I'm rapt that he's got the senior coaching gig. He's always had a high footy IQ, and I love the way he's going about it. So obviously going to keep one eye on him, that's for sure.
You know what I really loved after your game, Sam, was the bringing together of full club. Everyone there, we're all in this together. It's usually a players' area. What was the thinking behind that? What is the thinking behind that?
Oh, I mean, I think so many people helped us get to that point, and as a player or as a coach, you get a lot of limelight.
Yeah.
But, you know, if you look at all those people, most of you won't know any of them. But there's, you know, whether it's the property stewards, and, you know, I usually get into work pretty early, and they always beat me, those guys, and they rarely get the credit they deserve. So I'm sure Dewey will agree that there's so many people that put a team on the park, and sometimes it's good to reward them, particularly with a first win.
And to get it first up, that's...
I'd be lying if I didn't tell you there was a little bit of relief in amongst. Actually, speaking of the Brisbane coaches, I got a text message from Chris Fagan after the game, and he said it's always a relief to get that first one and get the monkey off the back.
Nice. In your song, Stewie, there was a lot of raw emotion, which from the outside we weren't entirely sure about, but it centred on Nick Holman.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Nick lost his mum, Kylie, just not long after Christmas, and you know he's our most popular player for sure, and I think we wore the black armbands for her, and his dad was over for the game, and you know it's you forget the people element of football, and you know, we wanted to get him in the song and get the win for that, to give them some joy, because it's been tough. You know, she was his #1 supporter, and it was an emotional day for the family, therefore for us.
Yeah, Dad in the song, that is a beautiful touch. When your head hit the pillow last night, Sam, where was your mind racing to?
Well, I mean, as a coach, you're always trying to have the longest view in the room. So I was looking a long way forward, thinking about, you know, selection for this week and trying to get players ready for the next game, but also thinking about it's one step forward for so many of our younger players. So trying not to focus too much on what's right in front of you, which is always tempting, but trying to have the longest view.
Well, there's so many modes of football to be played, you know, and you coaches orchestrate the modes of when you want to do them. What is the mode that you would like to play most? Is it this attacking style that we saw a lot of teams go with over the weekend? Move the ball quick, kick a score. That's how the best teams do it when they win premierships. Where's your sort of coaching when it comes to the best mode for your team, or how you want your team to play?
Well, I think as coaches we try to get involved as much as we can, but sometimes the best mode would be when you sit back and you don't have a lot to do. The players are just executing, they know what they need to do, and they're playing that way. I think you see some clubs, I mean, we all watched the game on Wednesday night and watched Melbourne, and that's a pretty finely tuned machine they've got running at the moment, and I think everyone else watched that, and perhaps the Geelong game as well, and said there's a couple of teams there that are a fair bit further ahead than some of the other clubs, even despite us winning. I certainly looked at those clubs and thought that's the direction we want to go in the medium term.
You spoke about the looseness nature over the pre-season, which surprised absolutely no one who watched you and your boys at Hawthorn go about your business. Did you see was it the edge that you saw? How much did you stress the attitude and wanting to be ruthless in your build-up?
No.
Did it play out like that?
I thought, I mean, when you play against North Melbourne, you know that's you know what they've had for generations, you know, shin boner type of spirit. So we knew that was going to be a key part of the game, and we wanted to be a consistently high pressure team, and we've shown glimpses over the pre-season, but we haven't been able to sustain it for anywhere near long enough. And the players know that it's going to take a long time to embed the game style that we want, that we think will stand up in finals and win games of finals football. And we stress trying to play in the right way and make progress from our last game, which we did, but it was just one more small step in the right direction.
the family of the club we've experienced, and then your family, as your twins are a great part of the footy language already, and the lucky texter as well.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, I think sometimes it's my first press conference and I didn't realise so many people caught on to everything that you said, so perhaps it was a little bit naive. But my son was grumpy with me, so he didn't get a mention, but he did tip against us at school. So I'm really glad that he's losing his footy tipping this week. So
When you start losing, which you will... you will.
Thanks, Robbo.
Even Lee Matthews was happy every 3 weeks. Yeah. So when you start, keep telling those stories, can you? Don't go into your shell. Tell stories like.
It's a great challenge. We talked about it with our players today. The players were as they are after a win. There was a joke and a laugh, and we stressed that if you're going to laugh and joke after a win, you have to be willing to do the same thing after a loss, because the score is currently 0-0 for the next round.
Yep.
The last round doesn't matter at all. And it's much easier said than done. And our challenge will be, can we maintain the pressure and rage that we brought on the weekend against the Port Adelaide side, who, you know, are going to have their backs against the wall, they've got some injury concerns, and we know the challenge is only 5 days away.
Stewie, listening to Sam Mitchell there, you're going to yourself, I know exactly what you don't know what's coming yet, Sam. To bottle what you did over in the West, beat West Coast for the first time on the road, I mean, that's a sensation. So bottle that and come back and get it up for the second week first. How do you celebrate that, and then how do you control it?
Oh, there's obviously the acknowledgement that it was a great effort. We went over to get the job done, and obviously there was some expectation around that. But I think there was... What went unnoticed is that West Coast team was still experienced. They still had some unbelievable players. I think they averaged 90 games and we were 77. So, you know, we certainly didn't buy into who wasn't playing. We looked at who was, but to get the win was good for us. And, you know, you play well in the trial game, but you know it goes up a notch, and we take some good belief. And we've got a 6-day term, which is quite a good thing, and we spent today travelling to come back, and we'll reload, and we play the benchmark on Saturday night at home.
What were your thoughts at three-quarter time, Stewie?
Look, the thought was we hadn't had the game on our terms in the first half. I think West Coast, their pressure was unbelievable. But in the third quarter, we thought the tide started to turn, and we missed some opportunities. We were aware of that, but we knew if we kept plugging away, we were confident of our run and our connection to get it done. And pleasingly, you know, the lads ran the game out, but also executed.
So that's the Matt Rowell that we know and love from his, 3 of his first 4 games. It probably was a hint as to how incumbent he was last year. I don't know whether a third-year player can have a renaissance, but it must have been a wonderful sight to see him over the summer and then to see him present like that into the fresh season. Yeah,
we weren't surprised. As we knew last year was going to be a bit of a slow burn getting him back. For a young player to miss so much footy, and you know we obviously got him straight back into the senior side, because as you can see, he's clearly an AFL player. I'm not sure he'll ever play VFL. So you know, to come back like that, he's physically and mentally just finely tuned, and he's so competitive. Doesn't matter whether it's table tennis or football. He wants to win, and you know, when he's looking you in the eye at three-quarter time, he fills you with confidence.
So I'm just curious, when you deal with him last year, and you will know we don't on the outside, when he's not able to be the player he wants to be and you know he can be, do you feel protective of him? How did you actually manage that?
Well, yeah, absolutely protective. But, you know, there was a little bit of education, I guess, using our experience or my experience as a player and letting him understand what are we trying to get out of the next part of the season for him. And a great example, we played Carlton at Marvel Stadium. It was pretty tight at three-quarter time, and, you know, he knew that he wasn't having the offensive output that he wanted, and he actually walked up to me. He said, let me play on Walshy for the last quarter, and if I can nullify him, the other Tukey and the other boys can take over. So that coming from a second-year player, I walked off thinking, gee, we've got a special human here.
Stewie, you probably don't want to talk about this, but I'm going to have to ask you. How do you not allow the media talk about your former coach continually pop up every 3 weeks? Clarkson. when I hear Rao speak last week to the Herald Sun, he spoke about the connection with you and the young players have with you. And I heard Cochrane come out in support of you. And I'm thinking to myself, this is not a football club looking for a new coach. This is a football club embarking on a I don't know what the journey is, embarking on a long career together. How are you able to how are you able to not let the Clarkson stuff infiltrate your head?
Well, I guess the players are my feedback and the footy club. And like you said, Rowley made those comments. We've got, Tuke Miller, Jared Witch, Sam Collins, who are all competitors and want to win finals and have a crack at a premiership, that have signed their career over with me as their coach. And then our younger crew are all keen to stay. So I think 12 months into my journey, we made a decision to cut pretty deep on the list, and we knew there was going to be some pain, but our players are really aware of the journey we're on. We're optimistic. They look around the locker room and the footy club and they see a future all together, and we think that, it's our club, it's our story to write, and I'm clearly part of that. So I back myself in. I can't control what others say, but, I guess I feel it every day when I go in the footy club, so it's not going to infiltrate my thinking. I've got to stay focused for the footy club and the players, and that's my intention, and they make it pretty easy, to be honest, to keep focused on them.
You could run group therapy, the two of you living in the shadow of Alistair Clarkson.
Oh, Jared. Oh, how to ruin a Monday night.
When did the Chad ask whether he could wear long sleeves?
Yeah, that came pretty early on. I thought they looked good.
Just more expression? That was the tone I read today?
Oh, yeah. Well, not specifically about the long sleeves, but, I think part of what we wanted to do this year from a leadership point of view is, the traditional leadership group, and these are the people that you follow. We thought that in our situation, we wanted the ability to follow and lead others. Anyone who had the willingness to step up and fill some of the leadership voids that we deliberately tried to create. And part of that was lots of different personalities. We don't have, the Luke Hodge, who's that big, fearless, stand out the front, or the Jordan Lewis or the Jared Ruffhead. We have got different versions of that now with Ben McAvoy and the leaders that we have had in the last few years. But we've also got a lot of young and emerging types, Dylan Moore and James Walpole and Will Day and Mitch Lewis, and we wanted to let those guys become themselves and express themselves, and some of that is in white hair or silly little shave bits in their haircuts, and I think most coaches now are quite willing to let players express themselves if it's going to let them feel comfortable to play their best football.
When you played, and take this as a compliment, you were a ruthless player, right? I think you only got suspended once in your career, but it should have been maybe more, but you were quite a ruthless player. But what I'm seeing and what everyone's seeing now in your coaching and discussion is a more not light-hearted, but a more jovial Sam Mitchell than we probably ever saw competing for 17 years. Nick Rewalt was the same. When he played for so long, he was so focused. And when he came out, we saw this side of Nick. Is this you normally, the jovial Mitchell, or are you the ruthless Mitchell?
I think, like most of us, there's two sides to the coin, isn't there? So,
which one do you like, the jovial or the ruthless?
No, there's a time for both. Sometimes I actually use it with the players as, a time for candy and a time for steel. Sometimes it's a good time to have joy and spend time with each other, but then there's a time to eyeball someone and say that's not good enough for what we do here. And I don't shy away from that. I'm not going to do that on this show in front of you guys. I think the jovial.
Why not? Take us with you, pal.
Maybe we will at some stage, but I'm not ready for that just yet.
I might try that with you. A time for candy and a time for steel. After 13 years, I've got to try something else. Our coaches are with us, Sam Mitchell and Stuart Dew, a little more broader. Of all that was rolled into round one, Sam, that's right at the pinnacle.
Yeah, I haven't crossed paths with him too many times, but he's very impressive when I have met him, and I think that was the moment of the round from a life perspective.
The post-match press conference for coaches was right in the spotlight after Wednesday night. Stewie, you've had more experience than Sam. How have you come to approach them? And have you ever had a moment where you thought, oh, no, I wouldn't want to bite here?
I guess it's a pretty simple approach. I view it as I'm talking to our supporters and members and players even. So it's a little bit of what's just happened, how we feel about that and what's next. So I think if you can do a little bit of preparation even before the game and a couple of what-ifs, what you can't prepare for is the emotion of the game, I guess. But you just got to remain pretty composed as best you can. But as we've seen, it's an emotional game and we're human and there's the people element that's hard to prepare for.
Have you ever had to ring a journo afterwards and say, sorry about that, I just lost it for that second?
No, I haven't as yet. So I'm trying to back myself in to not get to that position. But you never know, Robbo. Just make sure you write good ones and I won't ring you.
Tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to ask you about Alistair Clarkson again.
The COVID complications, so Carlton are about to live it. Michael Voss wins and then he's out. Have you run the backup scenarios as if this happens, what does it look like?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess for a long period of time, every club's been doing that, but we have contingencies for everyone. Whoever goes down, we know. Those people don't know yet necessarily who they are, but if the football manager goes down, if the assistant coach goes down, if the head coach goes down, if the runner goes down, we have a contingency for each of those scenarios.
Did your heart sink a little bit when you heard that McAvoy and Bruce?
Oh, yeah. The phone rang. It was about 9 o'clock at night or 8:30 at night, and Ben McAvoy, and we talk every second day, perhaps, on the phone. But it was an unusual time, and my wife said, that's COVID. And as soon as I answered, he gave me some bad news. Not ideal. And
what did you do? Did you go to your wife?
No, I did. Yeah, down. No, it was a sad moment. I mean, we couldn't share what was a pretty special victory, my first victory, and But I mean, Jay Romero stepped in and did a fantastic job. I thought he led really well on the weekend, and we shared it. And Ben will have to wait.
Do you have enough time or the energy or the emotion to even stop and think about Buddy Franklin as he approaches this milestone? It's big for footy, but is your job as coaching your own team really push all that sort of emotional stuff out of the way? First of all, you, Stu.
Oh, it's big for footy, so I must admit, we were probably just tracking his goal tally. I thought he might kick 4 and get a win and then just save it for the SCG. So, I think it's going to be a great moment. And we're lucky we had that period. Mitch had a little bit longer than me, but I remember coming through the middle of the ground and there's only one guy that you saw, and when he put his arms out, it was the big fella. So it was hard not to kick it to him. I know Ruffy used to say, I'm down there as well. But when you saw Bud in full flight, it was hard to ignore.
Sam?
I mean, I think that I can't believe how resilient he is as a person. Imagine the scrutiny that he's under every time he goes near the ball. We've been talking about this in a loving way for 6 months, but then he has to go and play. He still has to kick 5 more goals now, or 4 more goals now. So just think about the pressure on him every training session, every time he goes near the ball. That's all anyone is thinking about. And so he's handled that his whole career, and he'll continue to do it. But I can't help but just admire the way he handles such an immense amount of pressure.
Hope he enjoys it when he gets there.
Yeah, so do I.
Hope that it's Friday night and it doesn't string out too far from here. Sam, terrific. Thanks for coming in. And Stu, good on you. Straight off the plane to join us. Good luck with what comes next.